Sonny and Jason make a dangerous decision against Sidwell. The tension in Port Charles has reached a boiling point. After weeks of calculated moves and escalating threats, Sonny Corinthos and Jason Morgan finally confronted the reality they could no longer avoid. Sidwell's power in the underworld had grown to unprecedented levels, and peaceful coexistence was no longer an option. What began as whispered warnings in dark corners has now evolved into open discussion about the unthinkable. Hiring an assassin to eliminate the threat Sidwell represents. The growing threat understanding Sidwell's power. Sidwell arrived in Port Charles seemingly as just another ambitious businessman looking to make a mark. His initial dealings appeared straightforward. He wanted to purchase the piers from Sonny, a transaction that could have ended the conversation entirely. However, as weeks turned into months, it became increasingly clear that Sidwell's ambitions extended far beyond real estate negotiations. His network of allies and resources seemed virtually unlimited. And most disturbing of all, his reach extended into every corner of Port Charles society. What made Sidwell particularly dangerous was not merely his wealth or his connections, but his strategic brilliance. Unlike traditional mob rivals who often telegraph their moves, Sidwell operated with clinical precision. He had successfully positioned himself within legitimate business circles while simultaneously building an impressive underground network. The destruction at Charlie's pub tragedy that nearly claimed young Christina's life had served as a warning, though Sonny hadn't fully grasped the implications at the time. As weeks progressed, the evidence of Sidwell's expanding influence became impossible to ignore. His people seemed to be everywhere, gathering intelligence, making deals, and systematically working to dismantle Sonny's empire from within. More troublingly, Sidwell had cultivated unexpected alliance connections that Sonny was only now beginning to understand. This wasn't simply another ambitious crime figure trying to claim territory. This was something far more sinister and comprehensive. The conference, Jason and Sonny faced the inevitable. It was late Friday evening when Jason Morgan finally arrived at Sonny's penthouse. The meeting had been carefully scheduled away from curious eyes and attentive ears. As Jason stepped into the dimly lit living room, he immediately recognized the weight of worry that had settled on Sonny's face. This was not the face of a man calling a casual meeting. "We need to talk about Sidwell," Sonny said without preamble, pouring two glasses of whiskey. "And this time, it's not a conversation about business opportunities or territorial boundaries." Jason accepted the drink, his sharp eyes studying his long-time partner. "I've been tracking his movements. The network grows every week. He's bringing in outside money, European connections, possibly Russian interests. This isn't about Port Charles anymore. Sonny, he's building something much bigger." "I know," Sonny replied, his voice carrying a dangerous edge. "Carly brought me intelligence 3 days ago. Sidwell has moved against Michael indirectly, pressured contacts in the DA's office, and made overtures to people I've worked with for years. He's not just threatening our business, he's threatening our families." Jason's jaw tightened. He had seen many threats come and go over the years, but there was something different about the intelligence Sonny was laying out. Sidwell wasn't following the traditional mob playbook. This was calculated, systematic, and deeply personal for the people involved. "What's your read on his endgame?" Jason asked, settling into one of the leather chairs. Sonny walked to the window, looking out over the city lights. "He wants me gone. He wants control of the piers. He wants access to my connections, and most importantly, he wants Port Charles itself. But Jason, he's willing to take his time to get it. He's not rushing. That actually makes him more dangerous than if he just came at us directly." "Agreed." Jason nodded. A direct confrontation we could handle. We've handled worse. But this slow strangulation of your position, this is different, which is why we're past the point of conventional responses, Sonny said, finally turning to face Jason directly. I didn't call you here to discuss containment strategies or territorial negotiations. I called you because there's only one solution left that makes sense. The crossroads. Understanding the necessity, the silence that followed hung heavy in the room. Both men understood the weight of what was being considered. Yet both also understood the logic that led to this particular juncture. They had spent decades navigating the mob world, learning its rules and its necessities. There were times when conventional wisdom simply didn't apply. You're talking about elimination, Jason finally stated, his voice calm and matter of fact. I'm talking about survival. Sonny corrected his or RS. Those seem to be the only two options remaining on the table. Jason was quiet for a long moment, considering the tactical and practical implications. It won't be clean. Sidwell's took careful for that. He has contingencies, safeguards. He's anticipated that someone would eventually come to this exact conclusion. I know, Sonny acknowledged. That's why I need you in this decision. With me. I need to know that you see the same threat I do. That you believe this is the only viable path forward. Jason stood and walked to join Sonny at the window below them. Port Charles continued its ordinary evening rhythms, unaware of the storm brewing in the shadows. I do see the same threat. And yes, I believe you're right about the necessity. But Sonny, once we cross this line, once we move from defense to assassination, we've fundamentally changed the nature of this conflict. There's no going back from that decision. I know, Sonny replied quietly. But the alternative is watching everything I built crumble around me while Sidwell consolidates power. It's watching my children placed in danger. It's accepting a future where I'm eventually hunted down in my own city. The decision, a line crossed. What followed was not a dramatic moment of righteous fury or passionate debate. Instead, it was a clinical discussion between two men who had made countless difficult decisions in their lives. They discussed the logistics, the personnel, the risks involved. They considered the fallout, the potential consequences, and the variables they couldn't control. There's a man I know, Jason finally said, breaking the long analytical silence. He operates independently. He doesn't leave loose ends. He has a reputation for precision. Can you trust him? Sonny asked. As much as you trust anyone in this world. Jason replied. He understands that discretion is survival. The weight of the decision finally settling on him with full force. Then arrange it. But Jason, I need confirmation that it's done. I need to know that the threat has been neutralized completely. No mistakes, no second chances. Understood, Jason said. But Sonny, you need to understand something, too. Once this happens, Sidwell's associates will want revenge. His son, Marco, will want his blood. This doesn't end the conflict in many ways. It escalates it. I'm aware of the risks, Sonny replied. But I'm also aware that if we don't act, he'll have already won. At least this way. We're taking control of our own destiny instead of passively waiting for inevitable defeat. Jason placed a hand on Sonny's shoulder. Then I'll handle it. Give me hours to make contact and establish terms. We need to be completely clear with this person about expectations and timeline. The weight of consequences. As Jason prepared to leave the penthouse, both men understood the magnitude of what they had just decided. In the dim light of Sonny's living room, two men who had navigated the criminal underworld for decades had made a choice that would reverberate through Port Charles for months to come. Sidwell's growing power had left them with what they saw as no viable alternatives. His systematic dismantling of Sonny's position, his calculated approach to expanding influence, and most critically, his threat to the Corinthos' family had pushed the situation beyond the point of negotiation or compromise. Yet, even as they moved forward with this decision, questions lingered. Would the assassination of Sidwell truly end the threat? Or would it merely transform it into something even more dangerous? How would Marco respond to his father's death? What hidden allies would emerge from the shadow seeking vengeance? In Port Charles, where power constantly shifted, and alliances formed and dissolved with stunning speed, the decision to assassinate Jen Sidwell represented a turning point. Two men who had built their lives on operating within the shadows had decided that the only way to survive was to strike first. Strike hard, and eliminate the threat entirely. As Jason left the penthouse and disappeared into the Port Charles night, the die was cast. The machinery was set in motion. In today's Jen Sidwell's reign, his careful construction of power, his network of allies, his grand designs for the city would be reduced to nothing but memories and regrets. Whether this decision would ultimately save Sonny and Jason, or destroy them remained to be seen, but there was no turning back. Now, next we'll learn about the dramatic developments swirling around Willow Tate's imprisonment and the potential lifeline that could pull her out of Penville's cold grip. In the shadowy undercurrents of Port Charles, General Hospital enthusiasts are buzzing with anticipation over a plot twist that could redefine Willow Tate's fate. Recent spoilers hint at an unexpected turn where Willow might escape the harsh realities of jail time through a house arrest arrangement, allowing her to breathe the fresh air of home under strict surveillance. This revelation stems from the intricate web of alliances and favors that define the show's riveting narrative, particularly involving powerhouse figures like Nina Reeves. As Willow navigates the emotional toll of her incarceration, viewers can't help but speculate if Nina's past dealings will finally yield a breakthrough for her embattled daughter. The stakes couldn't be higher, with Willow's future hanging in the balance amid accusations that have painted her as a potential flight risk, denying her the freedom she so desperately craves. Delving deeper into the roots of this crisis, Nina Reeves carries a heavy burden of accountability for Willow's predicament. A consequence of her well-intentioned but ultimately flawed decision to furnish a fabricated alibi during the intense courtroom drama. This alibi meant to shield Willow from the full brunt of the legal storm instead unraveled spectacularly, painting a picture of deception that the judge couldn't overlook. In a move that underscored the severity of the charges, the court ruled Willow an imminent flight risk, slamming the door on bail and dispatching her straight to the foreboding walls of Pentonville Penitentiary as she awaits her trial date. The atmosphere inside those confines is grim, with Willow facing not just iron bars but the psychological strain of separation from her loved ones, including her young family who depend on her unwavering presence. Yet amid this despair, a silver lining emerges from Na's strategic connections, reminding fans of the intricate favors that bind the characters in Port Charles. Specifically, Jack Brennan, the enigmatic operative with ties to the World Security Bureau WSB, owes Nina a debt that traces back to a high-stakes intervention she orchestrated during a tense episode involving family reunions. Nina stepped in to convince Lulu Spencer to permit Charlotte Cassidy's heartfelt visit with her father, Valentine Casadini, smoothing over what could have been an explosive family rift. This favor wasn't extended lightly. Brennan, ever the pragmatist, recognized the dangers lurking in Port Charles, especially with the unresolved threads of the Drew Kane shooting case, casting long shadows over Nina and Willow's safety. In a clandestine exchange that highlighted Brennan's Resourcefulness, he floated the idea of WSB protection in exchange for Na's pivotal role in diffusing the Spencer-Casadini tension. As Willow languishes in Pentonville's unforgiving environment, where daily routines are dictated by rigid schedules and the constant hum of distant Selders fans are left wondering if Na will seize this moment to invoke that long-standing IOU. Picture Na with her signature blend of determination and vulnerability dialing up Brennan in a late-night call, her voice laced with urgency as she pleads for intervention on Willow's behalf. Brennan, known for his shadowy maneuvers and unyielding loyalty to those who aid him, holds the keys to extraordinary influence within the WSB's vast network. While he may not possess the power to dissolve the charges outright, those legal entanglements run to deep, woven with evidence from the Kane incident and Willow's perceived unreliability, his clout could orchestrate a compromise that reshapes her sentence. Howard Est emerges as a tantalizing alternative, transforming Willow's world from a sterile prison block to the familiar confines of her home, albeit under the watchful eye of an electronic ankle monitor that tracks her every step. Envision the scenario unfolding. Willow, fitted with the sleek, unassuming, isn't just confinement. It's an existential assault, evoking memories of her past traumas with Faison, where he once held her captive, not just physically, but emotionally, weaving lies that made her doubt allies like Robert Scorpio and her own daughter, Robin. Fans are buzzing online, dissecting how this new life could symbolize a forced reinvention, perhaps brainwashing sessions that rewrite loyalties or implant false memories, turning the double agent against her loved ones in a plotline that echoes classic GH espionage thrillers, but with modern twists like neural tech straight out of a sci-fi thriller. Delving deeper into the culprits behind Anna's abduction, the episode leaves breadcrumbs pointing to a web of old enemies and fresh vendettas. None more tantalizing than the resurrection motif that's become a GH staple. Take Nathan West, for instance. Once presumed lost forever, he stormed back into Port Charles with a 7-year void in his memory, piecing together a fractured existence while vowing to seize control of his new life amid the chaos. Nathan's return wasn't just a miracle. It hinted at shadowy forces experimenting with revival tech, wiping slates clean to create compliant soldiers or spies. And now Anna might be next in line for such a harrowing upgrade. What if her kidnappers, inspired by whatever lab resurrected Nathan, see her as the perfect candidate to test experimental serums that alter personalities or enhance abilities, forcing her to navigate Port Charles as a version of herself she no longer recognizes? This parallel raises stakes sky high, suggesting Anna's ordeal could unravel a larger conspiracy tying dead villains to living threats, with her survival hanging on outsmarting foes who know her every weakness from files pilfered during her WB days. As the plot thickens, whispers of illicit laboratory horrors bubble to the surface, drawing uncomfortable parallels to Anna's own family ties. Her granddaughter, Emma Scorpio Drake, has been on a relentless crusade to unmask underground facilities in Port Charles, conducting unethical trials on unsuspecting victims. From genetic splicing to mind control prototypes that blur the line between human and machine, Emma's investigations, fueled by her parents' legacy of fighting corruption, now hit perilously close to home. Could Anna have stumbled to near a black site operation while probing related leads only to become its latest acquisition? Picture the irony. The grandmother who taught Emma resilience now ensnared in the very experiments the teen is battling to expose. Perhaps subjected to procedures that mimic Faison's rumored obsession with immortality serums, blending old grudges with cutting-edge biotech. This familiar link amplifies the drama as Emma's determination might lead to a multi-generational showdown, where saving Anna requires decoding encrypted data logs and infiltrating guarded compounds, all while dodging corporate overlords pulling strings from afar. At the heart of these speculations lies Caesar Faison's elusive final Project, a phrase that's haunted dialogues across recent episodes, hinting at a legacy of forbidden science that outlives its creator. Characters like Lissel Oric and even Franco Baldwin have alluded to it in hushed tones, describing a blueprint for domination involving cloning bats and identity swaps that could reshape Port Charles' power dynamics forever. Has Anna been funneled into this endgame? Her DNA harvested to spawn duplicates that infiltrate the elite. Imagine a clone Anna sowing discord among the Q family or framing Valentine Casadini for treason. Or worse, what if her identical twin sister, Alex Maru, presumed deceased after their last explosive confrontation, emerges from hiding to assume Anna's role, using the kidnapping as cover for a body double scheme that deceives everyone from Duke Laviere's ghost-haunted allies to the PCPD brass. This cloning angle laced with twin swap intrigue adds layers of betrayal potential where Anna's escape might reveal not just her captors but a mirror image plotting her downfall, forcing viewers to question every interaction in upcoming episodes. Expanding on these theories, the episode Sterile Room setup evokes a network of hidden labs possibly funded by international syndicates with Anna's abduction serving as a diversion. While operatives raid her safe houses for intel on WSB ops, her restraints etched with subtle engravings that fans pause to analyze might symbolize binding contracts or coded messages from within urging her to play along until rescue arrives, perhaps from an unlikely source like Sonny Corinthos, whose underworld connections could intersect with the experimenter's arms deals. Meanwhile, the Voice's taunts evolving are imagined extensions promising Anna glimpses of alternate realities where Phase and 1 complete with fabricated videos of her betrayals to erode her will. This mental erosion ties back to Nathan's amnesia, suggesting a shared facility where subjects are reprogrammed for covert missions like assassinating key figures. In Port Charles' fragile peace, Emma's role deepens the narrative as her school project on bioethics collides with real-world peril. She uncovers manifests listing subject to triggering frantic calls to her mom Robin, who rushes from Paris with anti-serum prototypes developed during her Casadini escapes. This influx of Scorpio Drake reinforcements builds to a raid sequence where lasers and guards clash with improvised gadgets, highlighting GH's blend of soap sentiment and action spectacle. Faison's project revealed through intercepted comms involves a cloning army to revive his neo-Nazish ideology, with Anna as the template for a super spy line. Her intellect amplified, loyalties flipped. Alex's potential return adds a personal vendetta. Her jealousy over Anna's life fueling a swap where she seduces old flames like Fresco Jones, unraveling alliances and explosive courtroom dramas. The new life threat manifests in vivid hallucinations induced by gas vents in the chamber, showing Anna visions of a domesticated existence abandoning espionage for suburbia. A cruel irony for the jet setting agent. Nathan's subplot intersects when his fragmented memories recall a similar room, leading him to Dante Falconer for backup. Their bromance evolving into a stakeout that uncovers entry points to the lab complex hidden beneath the waterfront docks. As Emma deciphers clues from Anna's abandoned car, like a locket with family photos, it symbolizes the human cost. Rallying Port Charles residents from Carly Spencer to Nina Reeves in a community vigil that masks a vigilante hunt. In wrapping these threads, the kidnapping isn't isolated, but a catalyst for a seasoned arc exposing Port Charles' underbelly, where science and soap collide in ways that redefine characters forever. Will Anna emerge changed, a hero or a hidden foe? Or will she dismantle the operation from within, avenging past losses? Tune in to see how this devious plot unfolds, and share your predictions in the comments below. Could Faison truly be back, or is this the dawn of a cloned apocalypse? Music. English, auto-generated. Device would navigate her days with a mix of relief and restriction. Her Movements confined to approved zones like her residence or medical appointments for her ongoing health concerns. Any infraction, be it an unauthorized outing or a mischeck-in, would trigger swift repercussions, yanking her back to Pentonville without mercy. This setup not only addresses the court's flight risk assessment, but also allows Willow to maintain vital family connections, perhaps even participating in video calls with her children or supporting Nina through her own emotional turmoil, adding layers to this potential plot. Consider how Brennan's involvement might ripple outward, drawing in other Port Charles power players who owe him favors from past WSB operations. For instance, whispers among insiders suggest Brennan could loop in federal contacts to expedite the paperwork, turning what seems like an impossible ask into a bureaucratic reality within weeks. This inventive twist not only humanizes Willow's struggle, but also spotlights the moral ambiguities of Na's choices, forcing her to confront the unintended fallout of her protective instincts. Shifting focus to another avenue of hope, Drew Kane emerges as a formidable ally in Willow's corner, leveraging his stature as a congressman to potentially broker this house arrest deal independently. Drew's political ascent has armed him with a Rolodex of influential contacts, from legal eagles in the district attorney's office to sympathetic judges who've navigated similar high-profile cases. His promise to Willow, uttered in a moment of raw vulnerability amid the chaos of the shooting aftermath, echoes loudly. He vowed to stand by her side, fighting tooth and nail against the system that threatens to swallow her whole. As of now, that commitment remains unfulfilled, with Drew buried in congressional duties debating policy on Capitol Hill while his personal life unravels back in Port Charles. Will this be the catalyst that propels him into action? Perhaps storming into a backroom meeting with prosecutors to negotiate terms that prioritize Willow's rehabilitation over punitive isolation. Drew's own entanglement in the Kane shooting adds a personal edge, fueling his determination to clear Willow's name or at least soften her immediate hardships, inventing a new dynamic here. Imagine Drew uncovering overlooked evidence during his investigations, like a witness statement that questions the alib's credibility without implicating Willow further, which he could use as leverage in closed-door talks. Regardless of who pulls the strings, be it Na's WB favor or Drew's political maneuvering, Willow's current reality in Pentonville paints a stark portrait of resilience amid adversity. Locked away in a cramped cell, she grapples with the monotony of prison life, sparse meals, and forced silence during lockdown hours, and the ever-present fear that her trial could extend her stay indefinitely. Yet, glimmers of optimism persist, fueled by visitors like Sasha Gilmore, who sneaks in encouraging notes about the outside world, or Michael Corinthos, whose unwavering support reminds Willow of the life waiting beyond the bars. Spoilers tease that Willow's spirit remains unbroken, her conversations with fellow inmates revealing a deepened empathy born from shared struggles, perhaps even forming unlikely alliances that hint at future story arcs. Howard Est granted would mark a pivotal shift, allowing Willow to rebuild incrementally, attending therapy sessions for the trauma of her orals or even contributing to community service that aligns with her nurturing nature. This arrangement could explore themes of redemption, showcasing Willow's journey from accused fugitive to monitored guardian, all while keeping the tension alive with the risk of revocation. As the narrative builds toward this possible reprieve, General Hospital masterfully weaves in emotional depth, examining how Willow's confinement strains her relationships and tests loyalties across Port Charles. Na, racked with guilt over her alibi misstep, might confide in a trusted confidant like Ava Jerome, whose own brushes with the law offer sage advice on navigating legal mazes. Meanwhile, Drew's pursuit could intersect with broader city politics, perhaps tying into an election subplot where his advocacy for Willow becomes a talking point among constituents. Fans speculate wildly. Could Brennan's magic extend to Falsified documents that sway the judge? Or will Drew's connections reveal a deeper conspiracy behind the charges? Whatever path unfolds, Willow clings to hope. Her days in Pentonville marked by quiet prayers for change and stolen moments of reflection on her life's twists from her secret past as a teacher to her role as a devoted mother. Next, we will learn about the shocking kidnapping of Anna Dean that has left fans reeling from the November th episode. In a twist that ramps up the suspense long after Halloween's tricks have faded, the veteran spy finds herself yanked from the safety of her vehicle and bound tightly to a cold metal chair in a dimly lit clinical chamber that screams high-stakes conspiracy. The sterile walls echoing with an unnatural silence broken only by her frantic breaths paint a picture of isolation designed to break even the toughest operative like Anna, whose decades of dodging danger in Port Charles now seem like child's play compared to this calculated ambush. Anna's desperate attempts to call for help are swiftly drowned out by a chilling voice booming from an overhead loudspeaker. Its growly tone sending shivers down spines and sparking wild theories among viewers. Many eagle-eyed fans swear the inflection mirrors that of the long-dead Caesar Faison, the master manipulator whose shadow has loomed over Anna's life for years. From their twisted romantic entanglements to his ruthless schemes that nearly destroyed her world, this auditory mind game isn't random. It's a deliberate ploy to burrow into Anna's psyche, forcing her to question reality and relive the terror of Faison's obsession, where love and betrayal blurred into a nightmare she barely escaped. Could this be a holographic trick? A voice modulator programmed with archived recordings, or something far more sinister, like proof that Faison has clawed his way back from the grave? Much like his children who defied death in recent arcs, reinventing themselves with agendas that threatened the entire town. The message delivered through the speaker is pure psychological warfare, taunting Anna about her impending new life. A existence stripped of autonomy where every choice is dictated by unseen puppeteers lurking in the shadows. Imagine the horror. Anna, the epitome of independence and cunning, reduced to a pawn in someone else's grand design. Her WSB-honed instinct screaming for escape while her body remains immobilized. This